Dominic, go ask the American people if they understand Obamacare. They have no clue what's going on. All we know is we've seen premiums are going up for young people. We've seen the cost of Obamacare go through the roof over the last, and they can't implement it. They keep putting it off. Doesn't that say to you we should sit down at the table and say we need to fix this?
But I didn't see any or most Republicans fighting. Well, what about the system that we had before this? We're going to just leave that in place where Americans are dying?
No.
So what do we do?
Americans are dying.
So what do we do?
Please, we're not some third-rate people. The point is, we passed a piece of legislation without one Republican in the country supporting and voting for it, with no dialogue, no hearings, no nothing. Remember the hearings?
Isn't that the system we have in place?
Before we go down to Obamacare, this is a broader issue to me than Obamacare, okay? This isn't about posturing anymore. We've already spent the money. We're not a deadbeat nation. I can't believe, I can't believe, Congressman, that we're debating about whether or not it should be American policy to pay our bills.
We're not saying that, Richard, though. We should, but there should be a negotiation along the way. You just don't say when the debt limit comes up, we automatically just raise it. Well, then why did Barack Obama say that in 2008? You voted for him then. Why didn't you not vote for him if you feel so strongly about it?
We spent the money.
It was wrong to do that.
Yeah,
he did. He did.
Oh my God!
And second of all, is that necessarily the winning argument? I mean, because Obama voted against it in 2006, all of a sudden.
But this is a political negotiation. You act like this doesn't happen every day of the week in Washington, D.C.
What's the flip side of the negotiation? What's on the other side of the precipice here?
You don't have a shutdown.
And you don't default on your debt.
Yeah, you don't default on your debt. But you know what? Would I do it this way? No. I would just like a fair analysis that there are legitimate reasons why people are doing what they're doing.
Okay, wait. There's legitimate. I disagree with you only on this. Are you saying there's legitimate criticisms that we can maybe agree on or disagree at the table about policies they'd like to see enacted, whether it's the pipeline, whether it's. But you're saying the process they're doing is fine?
I'm saying this. I don't believe this president has ever really sat down and negotiated with Republicans. I feel he totally ignored them on health care and said, screw you, I'm going to just pass it with Democrats. You never pass such a big bill that's not bipartisan. So I fault him for that. I believe that there are very serious facts that say if we keep going on the way this president wants to go, we will go bankrupt. So some of these folks say, well, if we're going to go bankrupt later, we better call the question now. That's in their head, and I understand it. We will go bankrupt if we continue what we're doing. Period. We will.
Congressman, due respect, but during the Bush administration, when there were a number of Democrats who wanted an end to the Bush tax cuts, was there this kind of honest negotiation between the White House and those voices who felt like they weren't heard?
Yeah, because...
And did those voices then potentially hold the government operations and our ability to pay our debts hostage to that? Same thing with the Iraq War, same thing with a slew of issues that there was support from the other side.
First off, the tax cuts weren't permanent. This is permanent. There's a big difference. So everybody knew they would come up again for a vote and everybody would be able to weigh in again. You know, do I fault myself for not voting to pay for the war? Absolutely. If I could go back and do anything over again, I would be paying for whatever we had. But, you know, we've had $4 trillion, I think now the fourth year of $1 trillion deficits. $1 trillion.
We're under $1 trillion this year and it's dropping.
Under what, 900? I mean,
it's important to remember, too, that all 235 Republicans have run against Obamacare in 2 elections, and they have swept. They are representing their districts, the will of their people, and they're doing it properly. The only voice they have is an ability to negotiate in this way. I don't see how else.
I guess my only point I disagree is when you use the term negotiation, okay, negotiation is when you're in conference committees, you're trying to draw up legislation, and you have obviously the right to vote yes or no at the end of the day. But just like in every game or every single vote here, a vote carries consequences. And at the end, we all know how this legislative process works. The House, the Senate, and the President get a pass on. And we even had the cherry on top of the Supreme Court even took a look. It happened, and people just want to disregard. We always joke that elections have consequences. Forget about elections having consequences. Apparently laws don't even have consequences.
You know, if there's a government shutdown, Republicans will be hurt badly.
Of course they will. But America's going to be hurt. I'm more concerned about that than the politics.
Well, but my point to you is, so at least trust them on the fact that they're willing to lose an election on something they believe.
Okay, we're going to get into who is they. because I'm not sure every Republican is willing to do this.
Is
But
the government
that
shutdown going to be that bad? Is it? I mean, the only reason I ask, I don't know the answer to it, because sequester was going to happen and the world was going to collapse. And I'm sitting here tonight and the world hasn't collapsed yet. So I'm waiting for someone to realize we are spending way too much money in this country.
government shutdown and default. We're talking about two different things here,
Right.
two different
The government
consequences.
shutdown-
Everybody agrees if on
I don't
Monday they
default.
don't get their act together for 8 hours, it's going to be stupid. It's going to not be painless, but it's going to be not the end of the world. October 17th, few people debate that won't carry real consequences.
We will pay our debt, and we
Right.
won't have a government shutdown.
I agree with both.
And what is all this wasted exercise then?
It's
All
to
right.
get the attention of the president.
Okay. When we come back, we're going to talk more about this. We're going to talk about a law they didn't like here and what happens. Interesting back and forth this evening. RFL back right after this.